I am very easily able to say, what's the point of living? Maybe not if USB ports are destroyed, but I mean, if we don't have the internet or electricity, if we don't have potable water, I don't know if I want to live in a world where I don't have potable water. Like if I have to go through dysentery every time I drink water, I don't think I want to live. I don't think it works like that, but
well, if we're back in like the earlier times, they just drank ale and wine all the time because it
yeah,
was
that's
cleaner than
fair.
water. So we could just do that.
But then we
We'll
would
be a
have
little we'll be a little dirtier, we'll be a little bit more diseased, but we'll have ale and wine on a regular basis.
but we'd also have to use outhouses. Do you know what it's like to take a dump in like freezing weather? It's horrible.
Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required.
We're the podcast that recaps all the episodes of The Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot,
Make yourself a grasshopper,
and enjoy the ride. Hello there, Ryan.
Hello, Rob.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great because we just watched Season 3, Episode 21 of The Big Bang Theory, the Plimpton Stimulation.
Oh, yeah.
For any new listeners out there, I'm Rob, and this is my co-host Ryan. We are Theoretical Nonsense, the podcast that recaps, reviews, and deep dives facts from The Big Bang Theory, which we call IQ points. As a reminder to everyone, I've seen the series multiple times, but this is Ryan's first time watching, so we do our best to do no spoilers. And Ryan has been told that he's very similar to Sheldon, so we keep a point tally of how close Ryan is to Sheldon.
Right now, that tally is at 96 points not like Sheldon and 98 like him. So I am connecting more like Sheldon right now. It's been kind of neck and neck for the past like maybe 5-10 episodes, but it was going back and forth, and now it's like a little bit above with me being Sheldon.
Cool. A little bit of housekeeping. We have an email. You could always email us and we'll read your email at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. Well, we actually just got a new old email from our fan, Rebecca.
Oh, yeah. So Rebecca emailed us and says, "Hi, Rebecca again. I have a small, if you ever want to call it, an IQ point for episode 20, the Spaghetti Catalyst." And so we got this email like maybe a few hours after we did the podcast on it. So we weren't able to include this. Maybe it was a day, but it was like really, really close.
It was very close. Yeah.
Very close. She says, towards the end of the episode, when Penny and Sheldon have come back from Disneyland, it is noted that they are getting back at 10 p.m. after watching the California Adventure Water Show. Probably due to licensing or other reasons, they are unable to use the actual name, which is World of Color, which is located at California Adventure, not Disneyland. The theme parks are right next to each other. For context, though, them arriving home at 10 p.m. also doesn't make sense because World of Color has a couple of showings, one of the earliest being at 9 p.m., then again at 10:15 on a typical day. If they did, in fact, go to the 9 p.m. showing, there would be no way that they were be able to watch the whole show, exit the park, and get to the parking lot, drive, and arrive home at 10 p.m. I live in Southern California and love Disney, so this was an easy one for me. Also, there's brief comments about Jewish hell, and in my sect of Judaism, we do not believe in hell, but I do have acid reflux. So that's something, and that's going to come up again in this episode. So acid reflux is a popular IQ point, I guess. She continues, keep up the good work, and as always, if you have questions about Judaism and have one or more person you can ask along with fellow podcast listener and IQ submitter, Michelle. Thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah, thanks for that email and doing that IQ point. It's funny that, like Ryan said, it was within, like, I swear, like a few hours of when we were done recording. And we actually did end up doing that IQ point on Judaism not believing in hell. Yeah. So great minds do think alike.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on this for two things. One, just book recommendation out for anybody who wants to read a like serial killer fun horror book that's really twisted called Mayfly. It's about a woman who she never says any names, but she says she works at the happiest place in the world, and she dresses up as an ice princess. And on the side, she happens to kill people too for fun. So it's talking about Disneyland and the different times and stuff. Seemed, I don't know. I really recommend that because I couldn't stop thinking about that as they talked about Disneyland. The other thing I wanted to recommend was in Rebecca's email talking about licensing issues. It's I don't know how the licensing works completely, but there's a movie with William Dafoe uh, called The Florida Project, and I think that's what it's called, where he owns and runs a motel, and it's in Florida, and it's on the outskirts of Disney World, and like they call their hotels like this or same thing or similar things as Disneyland, so people book online thinking it's part of Disneyland, and then they end up going to like this rundown motel. But the whole story is really about this little girl who's like, I don't know, 5 years old or something, and her mom is if I remember correctly, she's like a prostitute living out of the hotel, and so the girl just has like free reign all day at the motel, and William Dafoe kind of takes care of her to some degree, but he's also like the stern William Dafoe character. So recommend that, but it is kind of interesting how the names kind of blend together, or that people will try to reuse the names, or things get confused as to what's connected to what if you're not used to everything. So I appreciate Rebecca explaining that a little bit. So yeah, your turn.
Nice. She actually did have a little bit of a follow up. We gave her a little bit of insight on our calendar on how we were getting ahead on things. So we did give her the heads up that the next episode is the Plimpton Stimulation, and we gave her the opportunity to do an IQ point for this episode. But she responded that she watched it, but sadly has no IQ points for this episode. She does love Judy Greer though, so she does enjoy this episode and seeing her act in such a different way than what she's used to seeing. And she says that I'll watch ahead for future episodes and see if there's anything new I can add.
So
So hope,
I
yeah.
I didn't watch, or I didn't read this email before watching, because I saw she was talking about the newest episode. I'm like, no spoilers. I just want to watch. I fucking love Judy Greer. So I was so happy when I saw her come on. I'm like, holy shit. So I was really happy that I hadn't read this because it wasn't surprising. I agree with Rebecca. I love all her roles, and we're going to talk about her in the episode, but amazing guest star. So I was so happy about this. Very great.
And this was back in 2010. So this was like, she was kind of known, but she wasn't like huge, I wouldn't
She wasn't
say.
an Archer yet, that's for sure. So like
Yeah.
Archer was like just getting started, like, right?
Oh
So
yeah. God, loved Archer. I haven't watched that in a really long. Is it still going? It's not.
I
Still
think
going,
it is. Like
it is?
every season, they kind of just do something different. Like I think there was one where instead of like spies, they're like astronauts. One of them, they're like pirates on an island. They just kind of like they got sick of doing the same thing, so they're just like, how can we reimagine Archer?
It is a very. I remember loving that show. I watched like the first like 4 seasons like nonstop.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what I got to, 4 or 5. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's still going. But yeah, when they got to the pirate island, I kind of fell off because I was doing some stuff, and then if I get out of sync with a show, like I stop watching for some reason, like not because I dislike it, I just kind of forget. But that's when I would like to get back to that because it's funny.
Well, let's finish up this housekeeping and dive into the episode. We also have an Instagram and TikTok at Theoretical Nonsense Pod, and leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We love 5-star reviews, so we'll give you a shout out if you give us 5 stars.
We love them. We haven't had a review for a while, so yeah. We're looking. Yeah. I can smile and look pretty for you. Okay, so diving in, we are on season 3, episode 21, the Plimpton Stimulation. May 10th, 2010 is when it aired. Directed by Mark Sandrowski, writers Chuck Lorre, Bill Prady, and Steve Malero. And I have to say, this is probably contester for one of my favorite episodes so far ever for the show. It's just, I love so much about it, and the guest star again amazing, and she plays the part so well. She plays everything so well. Okay, so this starts off with, actually I should ask you first. What did you think of it? Like, you've seen it a couple times, but your thoughts on the episode?
I think I watched this like 6 times,
Six
just kind of
times.
because I was like taking notes, and then I just wanted to watch it again, and then like I wanted to brush up on it, so I just like, let's just watch it again. Let's just watch it again. I adore Judy Greer and everything that she does. Yeah, been I've known who she was since like Jawbreaker. Did you
Oh
ever watch
wow.
that? Yeah, it was like
Yeah, a
one of
long
her
time
first
ago,
movies.
but
Yeah, I remember seeing her then and kind of just like following her ever since then.
I, I think I knew who she was, but I really picked up with her. I think in Californication is where I started following. I'm like, wow, she got something that I would like to see her in more stuff and pay attention to her career, because I enjoy her as for what she
Do you
gives to
look
the
at her
roles.
IMDb? How
Yeah,
long you have to scroll down? It's like you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. It's like, man, it's nonstop.
and like just movies keep popping up, and like, I've seen that. I had no idea she was in it.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, it's cool. Okay, so we start off with in the cafeteria, and Raj is coming to sit down, but he sneezes, and Sheldon stops him and tries to ask him about why he's sneezing. Uh, is it because he put pepper on his salad? And Raj's like, no, I don't do that. And Howard and Leonard are basically like, relax, it's just one sneeze. But Raj sneezes again, and he's forced to go sit by himself. And onwards, he has to talk through like a napkin whenever he talks towards them. Sheldon gives Leonard a notice, like an official notice, printed notice, that he's going to have a non-related female staying in the apartment. And everyone is shocked by this. Leonard's first reaction is, and she's human? Um, and then Howard follows up by asking Sheldon if he plans on kidnapping a woman. And Sheldon explains that he will be hosting a visiting physicist from Princeton, Dr. Elizabeth Plimpton. And according to him, they've been corresponding for years about gravitational signatures of inflatons in the early universe. And this is where
Isn't
my
it just
first
inflations? Inf-
inflatons.
Did I get that wrong? Shit.
Yeah, my understanding is that there's something called inflaton. It's kind of like a graviton or an electron or a proton, but they're called inflatons. And
I
it's
could have
weird
sworn,
because
yeah.
if you
I
try
looked it
doing
up and
research on
yeah.
it, Google's like, no, you meant inflation. Here's some shit about the economy. It's like, I don't want inflation. But yeah, did you do any research on this or inflation of the universe?
I did.
You want to go
Do you want
first? I
me?
can add to it.
Well, yeah. Let me just make sure I'm pronouncing it right then first.
Sure.
I've been saying inflations in my head.
Which is funny because I actually watched a YouTube video explaining some of this by Harry Clift, a particle physicist from the University of Cambridge, and I swear that he pronounced it inflatons. And I think in the show they said inflatons, and it comes from inflation. Basically, molecules are particles that cause inflation. So I was saying inflaton, and I think inflaton's the right word. I might have just misheard, but I think it's kind of open-ended how you're supposed to pronounce it, maybe.
Because it's spelled like inflation, right? Am I looking
Yep,
at the right thing?
yep,
Oh, it
just
is
no I
spelled
in
that
there.
way. Because,
Just like inflation, except no I between the T and the O.
but there is. I'm looking at it right now. What? Inflaton? Let me.
Oh God, we're in different universes, Rob.
I know because I typed in inflaton, but then inflation pops up.
Yeah.
So it is inflation,
Nope,
or it's
no I there.
inflaton.
It's
but there
inflaton.
isn't. But there is an I there.
So inflatons are supposed to explain universal inflation. And so that's, I guess, how they got their name.
Oh yeah, I'm on Wikipedia, and there is a page for Inflaton.
It's my understanding these are kind of like
It's the similar.
they're pretty new and like kind of debated because it's all very theoretical, and only in recent years have we had computers strong enough to simulate the beginning of the universe. So I think that's part of why there's just not a lot of research on them or a lot of knowledge about them because they are so new and theoretical.
Oh, you're right. Inflatons. Did
Inflatons.
I look up the right thing then? Inflatons.
That's the third
So
way to pronounce it. I like that way more too. Inflatons, inflatons,
yeah, well, I did research
inflatons.
on inflations.
I think they're kind of the same
More or less the
thing.
same thing.
It's just the particles are given credit for causing the inflation.
Okay, well, I'll do an IQ point on inflations because that's what I did.
Okay, go for
So
it.
I wanted to know what a cosmic inflation was. Could be the same thing as a flaton, inflaton.
Inflaton, flaton.
Yeah. Well, for anyone that's interested, I found this on the Caltech website, scientificamerica.com and astronomy.com. Basically, when the Big Bang happened, they theorized that space expanded exponentially within seconds. And this theory is called cosmic inflation. These wave signatures are the evidence that scientists are looking for in space to prove that cosmic inflation was a real thing after the Big Bang. And from my understanding, this still has not been proven. Scientists back in 2014 thought that they made a breakthrough, but that was later retracted. This was when the Bicep 2 at the South Pole found a pattern called primordial B mode polarization in the light left over from just after the Big Bang, known as the cosmic microwave background. That's really all I had.
uh, I didn't have anything about the South Pole discovery. That's cool. But yeah, I
Well, it
got
wasn't
this.
really a discovery because they thought that they discovered it, but then it was retracted.
Uh
So at this point, inflation or inflaton is still not been proven.
it's debated. So I gathered my information from Harry Cliff, a particle physicist at University of Cambridge, or possibly just some guy who YouTubes about stuff. Which I do. Word of warning, like I have stuff pop up on like my Facebook or YouTube accounts. Or like watch this video on the fourth dimension, and it's some like high schooler giving like his understanding of the fourth dimension, and people are like, he's a genius, and then like one person's like, he has no idea what he's talking about. I'm like, I don't think this can. So, anyways, you never trust, but this guy seemed to know what he was talking about. He had several videos, but I watched a 10-minute one on inflation. And I also got some information from livescience.com. And so Harry Cliff uh, says inflation attempts to explain why no matter where we look in the universe, basically the temperature of the universe is like the same in every direction. And like the only way that, maybe not the only way, but a good way to explain it is if it all started off at the same point and started inflating outwards, it would explain why everything is like similar, spherical, right? Everywhere we look, it's going to be the same if we look over to the right or over to the left. Um, Inflation suggests one point in space had all the energy and temperature of the universe, then that point blew up and expanded over time. So basically, the Big Bang Theory, right? Uh, Inflatons are what he describes as particles. Like, it gets really confusing. That's my understanding, but it's like, okay, so we know atoms, and atoms are composed of protons, electrons, and neutrons. But the question is, where did those all come from, and how did atoms form? And there's some theories that because of the force of the Big Bang, all these particles that were like floating around the universe got smashed together and formed helium. And then helium particles got smashed together, formed stars and hydrogen, helium, to make everything we know of in the universe, all the other atoms and elements. Um, But then the question comes, where did these other particles come from and what caused inflation? And that's where inflatons, inflatons, inflations, and inflatons come into play. And they're these theoretical particles that had a vast, in theory, had a vast amount of energy that drove all else in the universe to expand. And the last part from him was inflatons would be unstable and would break down very, very quickly. And from my understanding, it's kind of like, if anybody knows more about this, please, I'm curious because it's kind of confusing. But from what I was understanding, is like the notion is that different dimensions, realities, basically there's bubbles moving around, and when two bubbles hit, it could cause a collision that could create a universe. And that's in theory that two bubbles hit and created these inflatons that caused a big bang and created our universe. But they are unstable and break down very, very quickly. And upon breaking down, the energy and force of that would create different particles and cause things to expel very quickly. So live science, I got a little bit more. Inflatons as a type of quantum matter that formed out of the energy field that filled all of space after the Big Bang. And the way I understand this is that technically we live in a world of different fields, and that it's like electrons are one field, and that when you apply energy to that field, it causes a ripple, and that ripple in that field creates an electron in whatever the opposite of anti-electron, antimatter, and that different fields do different things, and that technically inflatons are part of what's called like the energy field, quantum matter energy field, and that they were created, and that technically, according to sciencefocus.com, BBC, they also cause gravitational waves in space-time. And the notion of this, what I'm gathering that Sheldon was talking to his friend about, is how much gravity did they have? How did they influence space-time? But basically, upon being created, their density and their force, their matter, their dissolving, being destroyed, falling apart because they are not very stable, cause waves in space-time. And as far as I understand, like gravity is what holds us down to the Earth, what pulls us down to the Earth, and all matter has gravity. But apparently, when there's enough force in a catalytic event, such as a black hole, a neutron star, or the Big Bang, it basically shoots out ripples in space-time. And we still see those, but they're like really, really weak and they don't matter. But apparently, like if you were close enough, it would force your body to like basically become a slinky, to expand and shrink at the same time in different parts. And like you would experience time and reality in different amounts, like very, very quickly. But apparently this is theory, but you'd be dead anyways because the catalytic event that caused these explosions in space-time would kill you to begin with. So but I was kind of like, what happens? What would that feel like? And one side's like, it probably like a slinky with your whole body. I'm like, okay, that explains it. But yeah, there are suggestions that these inflatons collapse very quickly and have they could explode and cause inflation, or they might have collapsed to creating some of like the first black holes in our reality. But again, it's all theoretical, and like you said, there's been some disproof and questioning. But my thought is Sheldon was trying to talk about at the beginning of the universe and the first like 1/1,000,000th of a second, what were the gravitational implications of these particles and what did they do to space-time as we know it. But yeah, that's what I got. I don't know if it helps anybody or it confuses people, but again, these like it's hard to find information on these because everybody wants to talk about inflation. They don't want to talk about inflatons. They just don't get love.
Well, I learned that there's two things: inflation and inflaton.
Right, inflatons.
Right.
And I wish I knew how to pronounce it. Inflatons and flatons. Whatever, Maybe they're fake anyway, so.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Okay.
haven't proven anything yet, so.
Yeah, you haven't proven shit yet, so don't tell me how to pronounce a word
Yeah.
until you've proven it. Okay.
It's actually Inflaton.
And Platon is, the ES is
Yeah.
silent and we don't put it on, but it's implied. Okay, so yeah, what did I keep pointing down? Now his friend has been considered for a position at their school. And so she's coming in, and Leonard says, well, I know her. I'm a fan of hers. And it turns out that she's going to sleep in Sheldon's room. Howard asks if he's kidding. Sheldon says he's not kidding. If he were kidding, he would follow it up with a bazinga. And Howard says, well, are you staying in the same bed? And Sheldon says, yes. Bazinga. So it's clear they are not going to be staying in the same bed, but I think we were all wondering where she was going to be sleeping or where he would be sleeping. Leonard asks why she isn't just staying in a motel or hotel, and Sheldon explains, well, hotels are kind of weird because they have non-opening windows, they have multi-user linen, and they have credit card keys, as if people just have unused slots in their wallets. So the whole situation with the hotel just doesn't work out. And he has time for one more question, and Raj chimes in and asks when he can sit with them again. And Sheldon says he's going to need 2 consecutive throat cultures spaced within 12 hours of each other. And he takes off and says he's going to start a precautionary round of antibiotics. My second IQ point is here because I think he is wrong, and I don't that they should have caught this. He should know more about antibiotics, and I am kind of maybe it's because I'm a germaphobe and I'm scared of this, but he should not be going home and taking antibiotics for any reason. So, anyways, did you look into anything about antibiotic rounds and colds? No. All right, so it's just the germaphobe in me. So technically, apparently, I've heard this from a lot of nurses, that if you get into medicine, one of the first things you hear is we are running out of effective antibiotics. In years, decade, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, we won't have antibiotics. They will not be working against the bacteria. And this matters because, and I'm taking this information from Johns Hopkins Medicine, I'm taking it from the National Institutes of Health, NIH.gov, which I use several times in this whole episode, and the Mayo Clinic. But from Johns Hopkins, definition of a cold. A cold is caused by a virus that causes inflammation to the membranes that line the nose and throat. Antibiotics tackle bacteria, not viruses. Taking antibiotics for viruses will do nothing unless you had like a bacterial infection with it, which according to NIH, that could happen, but antibiotics only fight bacteria. They're ineffective against colds caused by viruses. However, you could have a bacterial infection caused by a cold. So like basically you're sick from the virus and your immune system's down and bacteria gets into your nasal passage and starts a nasal infection or sinus infection. But technically the cold itself is a virus. It's not bacteria. And taking the bacteria before you have the bacterial infection is basically going to kill off all the bacteria except the stuff that's immune to it and create super strands of bacteria. According to the Mayo Clinic, about 1/3 of users of antibiotics do not need them and should not be using them at all because we are promoting antibiotic resistant strains of bacteria. We are, by overusing antibiotics, we are going to create super bacteria that we can't stop. We'll get infections that will kill us overnight. Maybe that's embellishing, but I'm terrified of it. And every time somebody's like, oh, you should go get some antibiotics, I'm like, that's not going to help if it's the flu. Influenza is a virus. Or people are like, you have COVID, take some antibiotic. Not going to help. COVID is a virus. So viruses and bacteria are very, very different organisms. And antibiotics, I'm surprised that Sheldon is perpetuating this myth, this faulty, but going home and taking a precautionary round of antibiotics is worse than taking them for a cold because like he doesn't even know if he needs them, let alone having a virus. So yeah, that mentality is it's going to get us all into trouble. I'm scared I'm terrified of it. So, anyways, yeah, IQ point 2 down. That I feel like they should have. It was funny, but they should have known a little bit better than that. I would have liked more. Oh, he's going home and taking vitamin C regimens or zinc or something. Although that's kind of, and there's some studies, but a little bit hearsay. But antibiotics didn't work for me. Anyways, Raj turns and sits down with Howard and Leonard, and Howard says, "Wait, where are your throat cultures?" Just kidding. Go ahead, sit down. And like as he's sitting, Raj basically sneezes into Howard's mouth. Like that's what it looked like to me. And I bursted
He was
out
definitely
laughing.
in the blast zone. Yeah.
He was in the blast zone. It was hilarious. And Howard and Leonard just get up and leave, and we get to the intro from there. It was a great way to start it. Okay, so we are in the foyer, and Sheldon asks Penny about maxi pads. He has purchased some goodies for his female friend who is staying with him, and he wonders if the wings on maxi pads are a gimmick or if they actually help. Penny is just really confused, and Sheldon's basically like, the stock boy was very uninformed and knew nothing about it, and that's why he's asking her. And finally explains that he has a lady friend staying with him, and he's trying to help her. He's purchased scented soaps, pantyhose, Midol, calcium chews, and yogurt designed to regulate female bowels. And I have my third IQ point here because I had an issue with this.
What, Activia?
Yeah, Activia. It's really? Not designed for women. I don't know where he got that. I know...
Oh, well, at the time, it was really... I remember it was a Jamie Lee Curtis ad, right?
Yeah, she was the spokesperson, right?
Yeah, she was just... I think they were pushing it in the marketing campaign. So I don't know if it was necessarily scientifically proven. That I guess that's your IQ point, is that it's not scientifically proven for women. But I think it was a marketing campaign just to target women, though.
And I guess that's kind of like Midol. Like Midol is targeting women, but like at the end of the day, it's basically just acetaminophen. I'm gonna look this up. Acetamin, caffeine, and antihistamine. I remember getting into a fight with my high school girlfriend. I'm like, it's Midol. Like guys can take it, and she's like, no, it's for menstrual cramps. I'm like, it's a pain reducer. Like it doesn't matter what pain you have, it's going to reduce that pain. It's acetaminophen. It's basically pain reducer, fever reducer, right? So but like you said, it's marketed towards certain things, and that's how they get their stake in the market. And so maybe that's what Activia was doing. I remember Jamie Lee Curtis being the spokesperson, but I don't remember it specifically being for women. And I'm curious if any of our viewers remember it being marketed more towards women. But I found some information. So what I found is this is false, that it's not just for women's bowels. So anything that they did have was marketing campaign.
Good, because I used to eat a lot of Activia.
I did too.
That's good.
In fact, when I was like diagnosed with my acid reflux, that was something the doctors recommended. They're like, you need probiotics, try Activia. So I'm like, oh no, maybe I was just really defensive. Like, I'm not a woman, but I eat it. Well, whatever. But according to Activia's website, it's suitable for the whole family. It has probiotics, and probiotics are microorganisms, basically a type of bacteria, right? That live in our guts, and our guts are filled with different bacterias. I mean, technically, we have Salmonella and E. coli living in our guts, and as long as it doesn't get up into our upper system, it's wonderful. We need them to survive, but they are in our lower guts. Apparently, Activia's probiotic they use, because like bacteria gets like trademarked basically and copyrighted. Different organizations will produce different strains and say this is the best strain. And so even like when you're looking up like probiotics, like to buy at Walmart, like each one has like different like strain names. They all kind of do the same thing, but they argue their strain is like the best for your gut. It's kind of like, I would say, if you are a farmer and you grow corn and you buy certain strains of corn from, was it ConAgra or whatever, that like scientifically breed the corn to be like the most efficient against pest or, genetically altered, whatever. They own the rights to that strain of corn. They don't own corn, but that specific strain. Same thing with if you're into beer, hops are the same way. There are types of hops that you are free to grow. There are types of hops that are owned by certain organizations, and you're not supposed to grow them yourself, and you definitely can't sell them if you did grow them. So there's a whole business organization side of creating living organisms and selling them and owning them. But the Activia's probiotic they use is called Bifidobacterium animalis lactis DN 173/CNCM I2494. You can tell with all those numbers, they're like basically categorizing these and numbering them for their own use. So like when you go to the store, like you'll look on the back of a box of probiotics and it's usually some sort of Bifidobacterium lactis, but it will have all these numbers after it because they're using different strains. Again, there are many other types of biomes, bacteria and stuff that live in your bowels to help digest and track food, but that's Activia's take. Then I went to Carolina Digestive Health Associates to further research this because I wanted to know if like maybe men and women have different bowel needs. I don't know if that even makes sense. But Activia is saying it's suitable for the whole family. It can help everybody, but maybe our bowels are just different. And I found out there are some differences from male to female bowels. According to this website, women's bowels typically empty more slowly from the stomach and colon than male bowels. Women also have longer colons. And from my understanding, their bowels are more like around their reproductive system. And male bowels tend to sit higher above their abdomen. So different lengths, slightly different lengths, and a little bit different positioning because of the organs we have in our bodies. But that didn't say anything about the insides, like what's going on inside the bowels. And so I went to NIH, the National Institutes of Health, for the second time this episode. Not even the final time. I think I go there a third time. And according to them, there was an article that said that men have 1.3 bacteria per cell ratios in their gut, and women have 2.3 bacteria to cell ratios. So technically, women have more cell or bacteria than men do, which seems like men would need the bifidobacterium, the probiotics more. But I couldn't find anything to suggest that even matters or why that would matter. But technically, according to NIH.com, women have more bacteria in their gut compared to men per cell ratio. And then I went to a article. The article is called from World J Men's Health 2020. The article is called "Sex Differences in Gut Microbiota," and according to this article, there has not sufficiently been any association to say that there's a difference in gut health. There are some suggestions that being male or female can influence like how your gut works and the bacterium you have in it and stuff like that. But there's all these other variables too, like age, diet, and meds that can influence your gut as well. Sex just seems to be one of them, but the associations, there's too many other variables, and we haven't done enough research yet to say that women, for some reason, need probiotics more than men, or they need yogurt or Activia more than men, or that it helps them more. Then two more things. I went to benefiber.com, and according to them, research has stated that women tend to be more prone to bowel problems like bloating and gas. And they suggest that this might be from hormonal issues due to stress and just different body balances, chemical balances in the body. However, men typically have more issues with acid reflux. Either way, probiotics can help both of these, in which case it doesn't matter being a man or a woman. You might benefit from probiotics. There's just these kind of stereotypes that women have more issues with bloating and gas, and men have more issues with acid reflux. Everything I could find is there's no reason that Activia is more suitable for women than men, or probiotics in general. I think for some reason they are marketed more towards women. I couldn't find anything to say that Activia had specifically been marketed towards women. I'm curious if anybody else remembers Jimmy Lee Curtis talking about it a little bit more. But finally, I wanted to say, you know what? Beer has bacteria in it. Is it probiotic? And I found several things. Some said certain beer types are probiotic. They suggested Hefeweizens could be beneficial to the gut health. But according to the National Library of Medicine, I found a article called Beer and Microbiota, Pathways for a Positive and Healthy Interaction. And they said that technically most beers do not have probiotics because most beers are pasteurized. So that's going to kill everything in it. Other ones may not be having the right strains of bacteria or microbacteria or whatever to really benefit the gut. However, beer could have different benefits, including enzymes and chemicals to help stimulate gut health. So maybe it doesn't have the probiotics, but it could have different elements and characteristics that help stimulate the bacteria already in the gut. So some might have probiotics, some might just help. But I was like, yeah, I'll drink to that.
Nice.
And that's my
who needs a morning yogurt when you have a morning beer?
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Can we push this? Can we market this? Okay, it's probiotics for men. Beer. This is only male probiotics.
Need a healthy gut? Have a beer.
Have a beer. Have some of that Jewish hell acid reflux? Beer it up. Again, we are not doctors and we do not actually promote this. So, for what it's worth.
No.
Okay, so that's my IQ point for probiotic yogurt for women. It seems like a complete gimmick. Sheldon then asks Penny to avoid jibber jabber, basically gossip, especially with her friends Brad and who is it, Angelina.
Brad and Angelina, they were big at this time.
Back at the day, yeah.
I remember, it's funny because I always tell my I always talk about this with my wife that growing up, my parents always had an Us Weekly, so I always was up to date on the goss.
Knew exactly what was going on.
Oh, I knew what was happening.
I don't remember that so much. I remember before Brad, she was with Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah, and he was with Jennifer Aniston.
And
they got together after Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
But I remember always hearing like creepy things, and I've never substantiated any of these, but like I heard that they would like drink each other's blood, and they kept blood-filled vials around their necks. And it was again just gossip, but I was always like, "Huh, interesting."
That was an interesting relationship, her and Billy Bob Thornton.
I'm curious. I'd like to read more about it. Like, just what happened? Were those blood things actually real, or were they like blown out? Like maybe it was like he needed a blood transfusion and she gave it to him. They're like, he drank her blood. I'm curious what actually happened.
Well, being with Brad made her a lot classier.
She got very classy, although I remember her in Hackers. She seemed really classy there. I liked her in that.
Oh, I liked her in Hackers.
It was a good movie. Okay, so we are back at the apartment. And Leonard has dressed up. He is wearing his one of his fancy suits for Elizabeth. And we now have the guest star come in, Judy Greer. And I just did a quick, of some of my favorite movies by her, movies that I've seen several times. She was in 13 Going on 30. She was in The Village. She was in Cursed, which I need to watch again because I didn't realize she was in that. That's also one where it's like, apparently, like, the movie, like, if you ever seen Cursed, it's about werewolves, and it has the guy from
Christina
Social
Ricci.
Network and Christina Ricci in it, and apparently, like, they had to cut it so much that it became a shitty movie. But there's push for them to release like a director's cut, and the director's cut, from people who've seen it, they're like, it's a different movie and it's great. So there's some push for that. But anyways, Cursed, Elizabethtown, Modern Family, How I Met Your Mother, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Californication, Jurassic World, the Ant-Man series, Dawn of Planet of the Apes, War for Planet of the Apes, Halloween, Halloween Kills, numerous episodes of Family Guy, and almost every single episode in Archer as Sherrilton. Did you pick up anything that I didn't mention in there that really stuck out to you?
Did you say Arrested Development?
No, I
don't think you
didn't.
said Arrested. Yeah.
Modern Family.
Yeah. She's in that too. But
yeah, so she's in Arrested Development too.
Yeah.
She's in a shitload.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3, she did a voice on that. Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Jawbreaker.
She's in a lot.
Yeah, she's in tons of things.
And I have to say that I've always liked her. Again, I think I started following her more. I think it was Californication, where she plays a prostitute, and David Duchovny like doesn't believe that she's a prostitute. I rewatched some of the scenes from it, but the one that stuck out was he's like doing crack off her ass, and he doesn't believe she's a prostitute. And she's like, you don't have to believe, but you're gonna get a bill anyways. He's like, okay. But I want to say, like, she's always kind of silly, funny, lighthearted, and usually very sexually positive. Like, I always, even when I started this, I'm like, oh, I bet this is going to have something to do with sexuality. And it does. I can't say it's every single role. It probably doesn't play a part in Halloween or Halloween Kills. Definitely not in the Planet of the Apes. But usually, like, she's very lighthearted and, like, says body positivity all over the place. And, I love her. So happy to see her. She says she almost forgot where Sheldon lived, but luckily she wrote down the coordinates on one hand. Luckily she didn't look at her other hand, which have coordinates for a new neutron star. Had she followed those coordinates, she would have been crushed to death in gravity. So apparently she's kind of, maybe not airheaded, but has to write things down a little bit. So
it's pretty cute that, like, it's kind of showing that, like, the physicist quirkiness.
Yeah. Very, very bright, but maybe not all. Yeah, the small details might get in the way of things. And then later
Did you freeze the screen on her hands? I wanted to see what they said.
What did they say?
I just decided to look. So for Sheldon's address, all it said was 2311. So I'm guessing that's the building number, maybe. But that's all it said. There was no actual, like, address there.
And, like, that's not even like a longitude and latitude.
No, it just said 2311. And then for the neutron star, it was hard to read because it was all kind of crammed together. But it looked like it said RAZ4H401 DEC 55 degrees 35. Either that or it was 35 or 38. It was kind of hard to tell because it was like towards like the edge of her hand and everything.
Yeah,
but that actually did have some latitude and longitude to an extent.
Coordinates in the sky type stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, that's just another name for an Activia strain. That's a probiotic. I should have looked.
I got, yeah.
Oh, but yeah, it was kind of fast, and they were kind of blurry. But I'm curious if the 3211 really. I'm curious about that one. So Leonard comes in, and he is nervous as hell, and says, "Hi-lo," trying to mix hi and hello at the same time, and he's kind of stuttering over his words. And Sheldon says, "Don't mind." Sorry.
Oh, it's all right.
Give this pause just a sec. So Sheldon apologizes and basically says Leonard is just an experimental physicist. And Elizabeth says that some of her best friends are experimental physicists. She goes, not her best friends, she just knows them. Says her best friend is named Wendy. And she apologizes. She's rambling and says, hi, Lo. I love that discourse. I didn't give it a point for being like me because, I don't know, it was guest star, but I could totally relate to being that awkward and just rambling and saying, like, I'm good friends. I mean, I know them. We're acquaintances. But great stuff. Sheldon offers her feminine hygiene products or yogurt. And she says those are interesting choices. Based on her current needs, she'll pick the yogurt. And Sheldon says if it works, he also bought scented candles. So thinking the long run there for Sheldon, I guess. Leonard picks up a book and looks at the back cover and giggles and says, look, it's you. Because she's written a book that he really likes. Flash forward, they're in the apartment. Elizabeth thanks them for letting them stay or letting her stay. And Leonard apparently misappropriates Sheldon's understanding of why she doesn't like hotels and tries to say the exact same things, which, yeah, he's trying to play to it and impress her. And again, he's still nervous and stuttering over his own words and wishes her a good night, but he says sleep night, mixing up good night and sleep tight, I guess. I like it as she walks away. He goes, I swear to God, I'm smart. And Sheldon looks over her shoulder and says, get it together, man.
Yeah.
They're in Sheldon's bedroom and he's pointing out everything to Elizabeth, showing the key features to the bedroom. The window that can be up all the way, down all the way, halfway closed, halfway open, depending on your impression of it. He points out the comics and says she can look over them as long as she uses the gloves, the disposable gloves by his nightstand. He also points out the emergency provisions in the closet: food for 8 days, water, a crossbow, season 2 of Star Trek, the original series, on a hard drive. Elizabeth says, what happens if the disaster destroys all USB ports? And Sheldon says, what's the point in living then? And this is my first, my first point of being like Sheldon, because I am very easily able to say, what's the point of living? Maybe not if USB ports are destroyed, but I mean, if we don't have the internet or electricity, if we don't have potable water, I don't know if I want to live in a world where I don't have potable water. Like if I have to go through dysentery every time I drink water, I don't think I want to live. I don't think it works like that, but...
Well, if we're back in like the earlier times, they just drank ale and wine all the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Water. So we could just do that.
But then we'll
be a little dirtier. We'll be a little bit more diseased, but we'll have ale and wine on a regular basis.
But we'd also have to use outhouses. Do you know what it's like to take a dump in like freezing weather? It's horrible.
One time, I'm gonna cut this story out.
That's fair.
I do remember I was out with people and it was snow. Like we were driving up a mountain because he really wanted a real Christmas tree. He wanted to cut it down himself and everything like that, but he didn't get a permit for it. He just wanted to do it illegally. So we just kept going deeper and deeper, like further away from civilization. And we were so far out. And like once we got there, I had to take the big,
of course,
and everything like that. So luckily he brought toilet paper. But then I remember like it's snowing. We're like at least a foot of snow. I like holding onto a branch and squatting down and just the snow. So yes, I do know what that's like,
and it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I will creatively bleep all that out. But yeah, I could not do that on a regular basis.
What part of the city were you going towards, like Mount Rainier? Because I know, like, up by my cabin, there's supposed to be like places you can cut down trees, but I have no idea like how it works.
It was so long ago. I was like 20 24 at the time. So I don't even, it was so long ago that I don't remember.
It was somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. And he got a tree, and it was not the most impressive tree. But
Of course not.
But you know what? It was all about the experience.
And the
Yep.
Okay, so one point being like Sheldon, because I can find many reasons not to live in horrible post-apocalyptic world settings. I could probably live with no USB drives or ports, but if I don't have access to music, like that is a huge downside. If I don't have like my I guess it's not CD players, but my iPod library or
God, imagine if you still use your CD players.
Yeah.
My Discman with my headphones.
My Discman doesn't have anti-skip protection. What do I do? It's skipping all the fucking time. All right, so Elizabeth asks about Leonard's relationship. Sheldon then goes in explaining that Leonard has had relationships with the waitress across the hall. They didn't have much in common except their carnal relationships, which is why he bought noise-canceling headphones, which Elizabeth is welcome to use as long as she wipes him down with wet wipes, which you can find in the bathroom in the drawer called wet wipes. He has also left her a detailed schedule of the morning bathroom routine. I love that. I can respect that. I didn't give myself a point, but I can respect having a schedule saying my time in the bathroom is like from 9 to 10. Nobody else gets it. I guess it wouldn't be an hour. They probably get like 20-minute shifts, but whatever. Sheldon then leaves and takes the emergency bag from under his bed. It's his second bag of provisions, and his emergency route does not run through his bedroom, so he needs it then. Later on, they're in Leonard's bedroom, and Elizabeth walks in her robe. She says that she couldn't sleep, and he happens to be reading her book because he wanted to sound smart over breakfast. She says he is smart, and he wasn't sure if that was coming across. He's now reading the chapter on the extragalactic distance ladder. She says that she wrote the section on Wilson-Bappu effect naked. And she's going to give him a little demonstration. And she starts reciting, when we consider the brightness of pulsating variable stars, we see the possible explanation for some of the discrepancies found in Hubble's constant. And as she recites this, her robe falls down. And of course, Leonard says you make science come alive. I did my 4th IQ point on trying to understand what she's talking about when she says any of this. Do you look into this at all?
I did. Yep. So what is the extragalactic distance ladder and the Wilson-Bappu effect? So I will start with the extragalactic distance ladder. I found this on astronomy.com and spaceandphysics.com. Also known as the cosmic distance ladder, it is a tool to measure galactic distance. Just like a real ladder, this ladder has rungs of objects with certain properties that let astronomers confidently measure their distance. Jumping to each subsequent rung relies on methods for measuring objects that are ever farther away. The next step often piggybacking on the previous one. For example, once astronomers measure the distance to a galaxy using one rung, they can then measure the distance using the next rung and match the two. That allows them to move outward and measure even greater distances rung by rungs. So the most important thing is, what are the different rungs? So the first rung is called parallax, which is used for nearby stars up to a few hundred light years away. In a supersized galactic nutshell, this method uses the apparent shift in the position of an object when viewed from two different points. The second rung is called standard candles. Standard candles are types of astronomical objects such as Cepheid variables and type Ia supernovae. These objects intrinsic brightness is well understood. By comparing their known luminosity to their observed brightness, astronomers can calculate their distances based on the inverse square law of light. The next rung is called redshift. For objects far beyond the reach of standard candles, astronomers use redshift. Redshift is the phenomenon where light from an object is stretched to longer, redder wavelengths as the object moves away from us due to the expansion of the universe. The higher the redshift, the farther away the galaxy is. This method works well for measuring vast distances across the universe, but requires precise instruments capable of detecting and measuring these shifts accurately. This method is essential for exploring the vast scales of the cosmos, measuring distances across billions of light years. And the last one is cosmic microwave background, which we actually mentioned in the IQ point earlier, or CMB. While the cosmic microwave background does not directly measure distances, it provides crucial information about the structure and history of the universe. The CMB is the afterglow radiation from the Big Bang. It offers a snapshot of the universe when it was just 380,000 years old. By studying the tiny temperature fluctuations in the CMB, cosmologists can determine the distribution of mass in the early universe and infer the geometry and rate of expansion of the universe. This is fundamental to understanding how distances in the universe has evolved. Did you have anything else to add to that before I go into Wilson-Bappu?
No, I think that was much deeper than I was going with that one. I was just going to say that I think I mentioned this before in a different episode that the redshift indicator is basically the same thing as Doppler effect, which is if you're listening to an ambulance going by you and it's going whoa, 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 and it goes by you and goes whoa, 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 like the sound changes as it goes by you. It's because the speed influences how the sound is coming towards you. And as it's going away from you, the sound wave stretches out. As it's coming towards you, it's being pressed towards you because it's like flying towards you. And as it's going away, it's being pulled away. Redshift is the same thing, that if the stars are moving away from us, the light from them turns red a little bit because the light spectrum, red is a longer wavelength, I guess. And the more blue it is, technically, if it's moving towards us, it could be bluer. If it's moving away from us, it could be red. But yeah, that was Astronomy 101 from college sticking with me. I love that stuff.
Well, the Wilson-Bappu effect refers to Olin C. Wilson and M.K. Venu-Bappu, two astronomers that discovered the remarkable correlation between the measured width of the emission line and the absolute visual magnitude of a star in 1957. This is known as the Wilson-Bappu effect. Basically, again, in a huge Lyrae star-sized nutshell, the greater the emission band, the brighter the star, which is correlated with distance empirically. So that's what they're talking about. Science.
Do you know
That's
anything
all I
for
had on
pulsating variable stars or Hubble's constant?
No.
All right, so I looked a little bit into those. So you did deeper, but I went into these two a little, not much, but just a little bit. But pulsating variable stars, my understanding, and I looked at a place called Australia's Telescope National Facility. The notion is that stars kind of fluctuate in how bright they are. And that can make things kind of difficult to measure, like how close are they, how far are they, because just different things stars grow and decrease in size. Just that's part of like their lifespans. Even our sun does grow and shrink, but it's pretty stable, so we don't notice. And this also can take like millions of years. Technically, when the sun dies, it's going to grow and like consume the whole solar system. So that happens, but it can cause some confusion on how bright it actually is and what color it actually is, just because it's pulsating, because things move, stars change shapes and sizes. The Hubble's constant, and the discrepancies about it, basically Hubble's constant, or Hubble's Lemaitre law, is the law that states that physical objects moving away from the Earth or the sun, basically in our universe, things that are moving away from us move away exponentially. Their speeds of moving away from us are proportional to how far they are. So things that are like 5 light years away, 5 million light years away, will move another 5 million, where things that are 10 million light years away from us will move 10 million light years in the same amount of time. So things that are further away move further away more quickly, I guess. And apparently, there are some discrepancies and discussions about this, because not everything works out, and like it makes sense, but people are trying to figure out what are the reasons why this doesn't always happen like it's supposed to. And according to the University of Florida, one instance of this is that Hubble's theory kind of came out, and he was thinking that he was looking at stars when he was actually looking at star clusters. So if he's looking at a cluster of stars, they're all moving kind of at different speeds, which could cause a discrepancy in his constant, his theory, his law. So the notion is, when she says, when we consider the brightness of pulsating variable stars, we see possible explanation for some of the discrepancies in Hubble's constant. Basically, that pulsating stars that are changing size, shapes, colors, and all over the place, then Hubble's constant of saying how fast things are going to move from us, it's going to be questioned and be confused a little bit. And we could probably explain that just because stars change shapes and sizes. So, yeah. If that makes sense.
Sort of.
Sort of, yeah. I think I was most fascinated here by the extragalactic distance ladder, the fact that we can't measure distances. I mean, it makes sense. We can't use measuring tape to measure from one star to the next, but
we don't have one that can go 500 million light years away.
And we won't with that attitude, Rob.
I know. It's like, we better hop on this.
Seriously.
I'm gonna have a kick. I'm gonna start a Kickstarter for it.
All right, so IQ point 4 down. Kickstarter. 5 million light year length
measuring tape.
Measuring tape. We're gonna have to extort the resources on many asteroids and planets along the way, but we can do this.
We got this, guys.
We got this.
We got the can-do attitude.
All right, so so she gets naked, and the next morning Sheldon is waking up on the couch, and he wakes up just before his alarm goes off, watches it, and the alarm goes off, turns it off, and proceeds to do a couple vocal tests. Leonard and Elizabeth come out of the bedroom. They say good morning, and they're kind of giggly. And I like that Sheldon giggles along without really knowing why. She mentions that she takes his coffee black, and I love this because I'm like, there's a reason she said that, and it comes back later. And then Sheldon goes pee, and he does a little rhyme when he pees and shakes twice for Texas. Apparently, it's
I tried looking this up. I wasn't sure if this is like a thing that they teach little kids or something like that. Did you try?
I've never heard anything like this, so, and I didn't look it up either.
Yeah. P for Houston, P for Austin, P for the state my heart got lost in, and shake twice for Texas. I could not find anything about this, so it makes me wonder if like the writers just made it up, or if anyone out there is from Texas. Is this a thing?
Is this a thing?
Because the internet has nothing on this. Every time you type in this, it just brought in like scenes from Big Bang Theory and quotes from Big Bang Theory. So I did find this article in Texas Monthly. It was called More Colorful Texas Sayings You Can Shake a Stick At, but nothing P related at all.
Nothing P. So his
P Yeah, so again, if anyone from Texas is out there, let us know.
It's such a weird detail that I don't see them putting it in unless like they knew something like that already. But like, if they did put that in, like, kudos, because that is such a
It's a deep cut right
interesting
there.
detail.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it. So he comes out of the bathroom, mentions the seat is sanitized, and she says she wants to finish her coffee before using the bathroom. And he says, so the yogurt didn't work. Again, the probiotic yogurt that may be advertised towards women, but it could help men and women, depending on if you want to try it. There's a knock at the door, and it's Penny. She needs a ride to work because she forgot to, or she decided not to fill her tank with gas. We don't know exactly why. And so Penny gets introduced to Elizabeth, and it becomes clear that Elizabeth has slept with Leonard. Uh, and I love their conversation where Sheldon like doesn't accept that it happened, and Penny's like, "No, it's happened already." And he's like, "What?" Um, and Leonard says he'll get dressed and everybody can so he can take everybody to work. And Penny says that they just broke up, uh, and she doesn't seem happy about that. He's sleeping with somebody again already.
I had a problem with that, just
I
in general. It's like,
you
I'm
know,
usually on Penny's side with a lot of these things, but in this moment, I was definitely Team Leonard on this because she
especially
broke up with
because
him.
she broke up with him. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's trying to mend his heart in the any way that he can.
And it's
I
been a
say he's fine.
couple weeks at this point, at least, right? Like,
Yeah,
at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I'm not saying it feels good to be Penny. I mean, it sucks, but I can see her being mad, but she can't.
she does not have the moral high ground right now.
Yeah. And I feel like in Friends, when they did it with Ross and Rachel, uh, I was still on Ross's side because she said, let's take a break. And for most experiences where girls tell me, like, let's just cool things down a little bit, that's never, oh, we're going to get back together. It means things are over. So I can't say Ross was right to go out that night and sleep with somebody, but at the same time, if you say, let's take a break, you are opening up the cards. And usually it's the women, like, women get more men like hitting on them regularly. Men don't get women hitting on them. Yeah, if that makes sense. Which basically means that, in comedy shows, it's funny because we don't expect the men to get the occurrence to happen to them. And so when it does, we laugh at it because it's so out of nowhere. So yeah, for Penny, it's like, things are going to, I don't know if that makes sense. I just feel like it doesn't happen to men, and it's easy to bash Leonard for this, but at the same time, she might have had the opportunity as well and may have taken it, and he would have no room to say anything because they were broken up. And again, Friends, I still take Ross's side. They were on a break, but it is kind of shitty to do that night. It's like not respectful, not wrong, not respectful. But several
Yes,
weeks out
agreed.
after
Yeah.
the relationship is officially over, has she been on a date too?
Not that we've seen yet.
Not that we've seen, but
Yeah.
I've kind of assumed that it's happened because, again, she.
If it did happen, it happened off screen and we didn't know because it was Wheaton reoccurrence, then Spaghetti Catalyst, and now we're here.
We've
So
built
it has
this
been a couple weeks. Yeah.
series up knowing that she has dated a lot more guys than Leonard has women, because Leonard is a nerd, right? It's hard to, I mean, he's dated more than Raj, but it's harder for men to get dates like that, and women, often have more guys. It just happens.
They, they
So
definitely have more to choose from in the pool.
I was assuming that she had more opportunities, and if she hasn't dated, she's making the mental uh, choice not to date. It's not like she doesn't have the opportunities. For Leonard, I
Yeah.
feel like this is probably for years to come, this might be his only opportunity, right?
Yes.
And he
Facts.
even says
he could die alone.
he could, yeah. So you take the
He is on
opportunity.
track.
So yeah, I don't necessarily agree with. I understand her feeling bad, but she can't blame Leonard for this. And yeah, for whatever reason, they are over, and it's been several weeks, at least 2, maybe a month. He's got to move on. This isn't even necessarily rebound sex. Rebounds like I feel like the next day or like the next week. This is several weeks out. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right. So anyway, she's upset. Where was I? Says it's not her business if he wants to sleep with Sheldon's friend. Penny says that she's not recommending it. It's already happened. And again, I love that Sheldon just is in complete disbelief. And Leonard's like hesitant in admitting it, but he does. And says it just kind of happened. And they start making the old jokes about, oh, did you trip and fall into her lady parts? Did it just accidentally happen? Again, I would say that Leonard had the opportunity. He's like, I'm not going to say no because it might not happen again. So, and Penny says that she's just going to take the bus. Sheldon's still in shock and says he's been betrayed. And I love that Sheldon goes, she was my friend and you played with her. And Leonard goes, I guess I did. I guess I did.
He's still riding that high right now.
Right? Although from the looks of things, I think she played with Leonard. I think Leonard was just kind of there for the ride. She knew what she wanted and she went for it. So good for her. They're in the cafeteria. Raj has a flask and chugs from it. Apparently it's NyQuil. And I'm getting 1 point for Raj like this because
you put your NyQuil in the flask.
I might do that from now on, and I could see myself doing that and sneaking it in places or whatever. But it's very crafty.
It's crazy that he's not going to fall asleep. Like NyQuil, like knocks me out. Like within like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I had to assume that he just meant like Dayquil or some sort of NyQuil, but like NyQuil, that's got the sleepy time meds in it.
Yeah,
and so like he shouldn't be driving or working heavy machinery with that. But yeah, using a flask like that, I've seen myself. I almost always have meds on me for whatever might ail you. Maybe not Midol, but I have like ibuprofen, I have Pepto, I have like wherever I go, I always have meds. And I'm like, you know what? I respect him figuring out a way to bring NyQuil in a way that he can kind of drink it as he needs it. So 1 point. And then he claims that NyQuil is like 10% booze, which is why he's going to be able to talk to Elizabeth when she comes in. Key thing there. Leonard starts giving them clues saying that he couldn't sleep last night. And Rod's like, are you sick too? Howard asks if he wants some of his mom's sleeping pills and gets this really fucked up line. Raj saying like, is she going to miss those pills? And Howard says she doesn't even know she's taking them. So he's drugging his mom apparently. It made me laugh, but still like, what the fuck? Leonard says he didn't mind not sleeping, and he didn't mind sleeping again this morning. Those are going to be the only clues. The Raj says, did the pigeon have babies on your windowsill? And Howard says, did he try making another stop motion Lego movie? And quotes, it's not enough to make Legos move. They also have to capture your heart. I didn't do a full IQ point on this, but he is wrong in saying this. Yeah, don't say Legos. Legos is not plural. It is a bastardized American version of trying to pluralize Lego. But Lego itself is plural. If you don't like that, you're supposed to say Lego bricks. But the company and other countries and other languages dictate Legos is wrong. Legos is not plural. It is Lego as singular, plural, or Lego bricks. You don't say Legos. That's yeah, I don't know. And I can say that a student pointed that out to me. So I had to feel stupid so I can make Howard feel stupid about it too. And Leonard gives one more clue. It involved another person. Raj guesses it was a Japanese love pillow, which counts as a person if you love her and give her a name. Love that mentality.
I think he has some experience with that.
It's like so cute too. It's like we're gonna be accepting of the relationship. Reminds me. Do you ever see was it Lars and the Real Girl with Ryan Gosling?
I have. Yeah.
Fantastic movie if anybody wants to watch it. If you love her and give her a name, it's a real person. Sheldon and Elizabeth walk in. He calls Howard not a doctor. I picked that up as he's introducing everybody. Leonard says he's tired and asks if Elizabeth's tired too. And she says, sure, could you get me a coffee? And this is where it comes back up. He says, black, right? And she goes, now I'm thinking hot, brown, and sweet. As she looks at Raj. I love Raj, like, kind of picks up on it, and, like, his eyes widen, and he just takes a swig of the flask.
I need more of this in me.
Exactly. Like, okay, and drinks more. So she has started going for Raj now. We are at Raj's apartment later that evening, and Howard comes over. It's Halo night. Raj says he can't. He's too sick. Howard says, that's why we moved it to your place. My mom made you chicken soup. And, you know,
very sweet.
It's as sweet as it is, he's still drugging his mom. So I love, he's kind of both ends of the spectrum, but giving her sleeping pills. And then Elizabeth says, don't send him away, let him in. Which Raj says, that's nothing. I got a parrot. So he's trying to cover this up, but Howard does come in. And Elizabeth asks if he likes role-playing games. And he's like, sure, I'm a dungeon master. Not tonight, you're not. Tonight, you are a delivery man who brought soup. Oh no, Raj and I don't have enough money to pay you. They'll have to come to some sort of agreement. Howard looks shocked and says, beg your pardon? Like he's completely thrown off guard. Elizabeth goes to change, leaves him to work out the details. And Howard turns to Raj and says, what the frack? Like, I just love that. Like, it's definitely a what the fuck situation.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell? And Raj says, get out. She wants New Delhi, not kosher deli. Anyways, Howard's got a girlfriend. First comes up, they've broken up. He's been waiting for the right time to say this. And apparently this is the right time, which we haven't seen her in the last few episodes, but we haven't heard that they've broken up. So I don't know if he's lying about that or if it actually happened. It seems like he's being honest. I'm not sure. And we haven't seen her, but something that we can get into in a later episode. Leonard comes in and says, who's ready for Halo? And I love Rush's. This is like a nightmare, and like it literally seems like a nightmare. You're about to get laid, and all your friends just come parading in at the same time. Howard says the numbers are shaky enough as is. Like he's already going along with it. Elizabeth says hello to Leonard being there.
Oh, good. And Leonard's here.
Oh, good. That's what it is. Oh, good. Leonard's here. The more the merrier, apparently. And Leonard's like, what the hell's going on, basically? And she says, Leonard and Howard are now moving men, and Raj is the new landlord, and oh no, she doesn't have enough money to pay any of them.
Oh no.
Well, Howard says, welcome to Penthouse Forum. Raj asks who's still up for this, and Howard's hand goes up. Leonard says they're going to see each other naked, in which case Howard's hand goes back down. I love this episode. Elizabeth comes out, and she is in her undies, nice little negligee, and asks if they're ready. Raj says they're almost ready. They're going to have to go in the hall and make a grand entrance, and he shoos them away. Go, don't look back. And as soon as they get out, he locks the door. And
Smart man.
then he turns around and says, "So you can't pay your rent?" And I love she just smiles and kind of giggles. But man, go Raj for just working with the situation and making it work.
Yeah.
Flash forward, we are in the foyer.
Which
Leonard,
now means that Raj and Leonard are Eskimo brothers.
good for them.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of assuming they probably already have been, but this is the only time that we know of, right?
Yeah.
Let's go, brothers. We're in the foyer, and Leonard comes in. Penny hands him over a pair of Spider-Man undies that belong apparently to Sheldon. And Leonard tries to apologize, and she again is kind of standoffish, kind of cold, saying, "You don't owe me an explanation." And he's like, "I want to give you one just for the record." And she says she's listening. He pauses. They walk up some stairs, and his final answer is, "She let me." And again, I feel like that's explanation enough for him. Like, she's gonna get encounters for, she's beautiful, she's single, she could, things are gonna come up. Leonard, it could be a decade before anything comes up, if that. So let him have one. Anyways, you broke up with him.
Yeah, because before Penny, it was Leslie, right? Leslie was the last girl that he was in a relationship with.
Kind of on and off.
Oh
right?
no, shoot, no. Oh no, it was Dr. Stephanie. It
was Stephanie. Yeah, I was gonna say there was somebody.
That was a while ago, though.
It was quite a while ago, and it comes up. But even before that, it was quite a while, and Leslie basically used him. So, and then she went on to use Howard quite a bit. So
yeah,
good for her. And that's the end of the episode. We're on the vanity card episode.
Now. Yeah. Did you want me to take it since you led, or you want to take it?
I can take it.
All right.
Chuck Lorre Productions, number 286. And this is kind of like a confessional, I guess. I've read part of it. In public bathrooms, I will sometimes use the children's urinal in order to feel like a giant. If no one's around, I am likely to sing along with Aretha Franklin's version of "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman," but not the Carole King version. I've never understood why anyone would bother making a porn movie that lasts longer than 10 minutes. I often pretend that the person standing next to me in an elevator is an unwitting carrier of deadly airborne disease unleashed by terrorists who hate our freedom. This, of course, forces me to hold my breath until the doors open. 40 years ago, I measured my penis with a wood ruler. The irony was lost on me. Sometimes sex just seems like a lot of work. There are mornings when, for no perceivable reason, I turn into a teenage girl and repeatedly change my outfit. I floss so that my dentist will be proud of me. Even when asked, I have never been able to talk dirty to a woman without feeling like a complete idiot. My one attempt at manscaping ended in bloodshed. So it's a confessional. I have to say, that's part of the reason I floss too. Although I have to say, I don't think flossing helps as much as they say it does, because I go in and sometimes I'm like, "You look excellent. You must be flossing a lot. This is the best I've ever seen." And I come in the next time and they're like, "You're bleeding a lot. Have you been flossing?" I floss every fucking day, as much as you tell me to. And I try to do my best on it, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I feel like it's not, if your gums bleed, I think sometimes that just happens. It's not because you're a bad flosser.
Yeah, I water pick. I've been doing that, and it's been amazing.
See, I do. I now floss and water pick, because I was water picking for a while, and they're like, "No, you're getting pockets in your gums. Water picking is not good enough. You need to floss."
Oh.
And so I've gone back to water picking and flossing, and now if I go in and like they ever complain, actually no, what was it? The last time I went in, my gums were bleeding, and they actually went through the list. And they're like, "Do you brush twice a day?" I'm like, "Yes." And they're like, "Do you use an automatic toothbrush?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Do you floss every day?" I'm like, "Once every day." And they're like, "Well, your gums are bleeding." I'm like, "I also use a water pick." And they're like, "Well, I don't know then." I'm like, you can't just go down the list and make it seem like it's my fucking fault when you don't know what they like. Sometimes gums just bleed. That's my understanding.
Deep down, they're just thinking that you're a liar.
Exactly. They're like, you're a liar and you're a schmuck that doesn't take care of your teeth.
You just look like a schmuck.
Yeah, schmuck Ryan. It's long hair and your beady eyes. I don't know. Oh man. But yeah, I even with my teeth, for those who don't know out there, my bottom teeth are implants, because 4 of my teeth just one day started getting loose. It was like a nightmare, right? Where you have a dream of your teeth getting loose and falling out. Like, apparently that happens sometimes, and it happened to me. And everybody who like looks and hears that, they're like, well, you must not brush or floss. But it's like, literally, I had 2 different dentists look at it because it was such a weird situation, and it came down to trauma. And the guy, the dentist, the main one, was like, you must have gone in a fight when you were younger. I'm like, I don't fight. Like, I'm a wimp. I don't fight. He's like, no, you probably got punched really hard several times to your front teeth. I'm like, does that happen? Like,
I feel like I would know that.
Yeah, like maybe he beat them. Like, whoever beat me up beat the memory out of me. But I don't know. So, but like everybody now, like every time I go to the dentist, they're like, what happened to your bottom teeth? Were you not brushing? I'm like, no, it's in my file that it was trauma somehow. I brushed twice a day, floss, and they're still not proud of me. They just don't care. You can never please your dentist.
Yeah, so stop trying.
No more brushing. More probiotics.
No more brushing. No more flossing. No probiotics. Nothing.
Nothing.
Just antibiotics.
Just
Load
antibiotics.
up on your antibiotics.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the episode.
There, we did it.
We did it. Hilarious episode.
We had 4 IQ points.
And
very sciencey, very hard to explain. We did not really do it nearly as much justice as I was hoping for, because these topics were very challenging.
They were really challenging. Doing like super theoretical physics, even specifically when we were trying to explain the what were they, the expantrons or inflatons, that like you can't even find information. Like everything comes up inflation, the economy's falling apart, but sciencey, it's kind of hard to find information.
And where's your Sheldon counter at now?
We are at 97 to 99. Man, Sheldon side is about to break 100.
Dang. New Shelley.
I'm a Shelley so far. I feel like that says something if Shelley gets to 100 before the other side. Love the episode. We're rounding down to the end of season 3. It's again one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, we just got a couple more left.
Yeah.
And then we'll do our recap.
Exciting.
Yeah. Well, all right. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Theoretical Nonsense Pod. Email us at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. Don't forget to leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. And we'll see you next time when we talk Season 3, Episode 22, The Staircase Stimulation. Thanks for listening.
See you then.
This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required. Our intro and outro music is by Alex Grohl. Thanks for listening.